Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Nathan and I'm a junior doctor in Boston doing my internal medicine residency. If you're, familiar face of the channel, good to see you again. Just want to start out by saying I'm so sorry that it's been so long since I posted video. I think it's just sort of between the demands of intern year and then also the creator trap of the longer you go without producing the content, the more you build up in your mind of needing the next piece to be really good, and that sort of snowballs. And so at a certain point, like today, I feel I just need to jump back in there, and so that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm going to try to be a lot more consistent throughout the rest of residency making videos. But anyways, in terms of residency reflections, I know I only did one towards the beginning of intern year, but there's so much for me to reflect on. I thought today I would just sort of focus on 5 things that I want to focus on and talk about, and there's more that I'll talk about in future videos. So first thing that I want to reflect on after intern year is that you don't need to have all the answers. I think there's a lot of pressure, especially when you're coming out of med school, you feel you need to know so much because you're officially a doctor now. But the reality is that, everybody, no one knows everything. And so many people are looking things up so often. I still look things up super often. And it's really not a question of what you know, but whether if you know where to look to find the answers. And on top of that, it's super important to be curious and to be asking questions. So if you don't know something, that's good because it's an opportunity for you to investigate and learn. So I would say having that growth mindset and not having the pressure on yourself to know everything, really gives you space to learn and grow throughout intern year. The next thing I was going to talk about is in my mind, what it means to be an intern. As an intern, you're really first line for the patients you're caring for. So there's the advantage of that. You're, get to be the closest in relation to the patient and build that bond, and they see you as their primary doctor. But the other side of that is that you are tasked with a lot of the tasks of the patient care, the note writing and orders and some of the nitty-gritty, which is not always fun, but is very crucial for good patient care. So now as I'm a second year resident, it'll be nice to be absolved of some of those responsibilities and be able to have a bit more supervisory role. But I'm sure I will definitely miss the as close connection to the patient that I was able to have as an intern. All right. Next thing, number 3, and this was probably what surprised me most when I started residency, is the emotional toll that it takes, specifically the death that you encounter, and particularly in the ICU. My first ICU experience was in the cardiac ICU, and I just think the emotional demands of it were so surprising to me, because as a medical student, you're really shielded from a lot of the death that happens in the hospital. But when you're in residency, you interface with it, up front often and up close. And it can be a lot to deal with, especially at first. So that was a big shock to me. I think sort of over time, I learned how to better process it, discuss it with other residents and other people in the hospital attending, and they were very helpful. But also finding a balance of how to reflect on it, because it is a very significant moment, a patient dying, because this is a person that dies. To reflect and acknowledge it, but not let it, take you down too much and completely, disrupt your flow. Because the day goes on, there's more work that you have to do, more patient care that you have to do. So that was definitely, honestly, one of the biggest challenges of intern year for me. All right, next I want to talk about sort of how much fun I had being in the hospital and it feeling like a home. back in the day, residents were called house staff or residents because they were basically living in the hospital. And nowadays we don't live in the hospital like that, but we still spend a significant amount of time. And for me, I was pretty intentional trying to get to know so many people in the hospital, the cleaning staff, the nurses, the administrators, phlebotomy. And doing that for me brought so much joy to my day-to-day work, because it honestly did come to feel like a house, and I was living in a house and helping to run this house and knowing everyone in it. It just creates an environment that for me was very inspiring and exciting and encouraging, and that honestly fueled me a lot throughout my day, the days when it was rough, and being able to just walk through the hospital, recognize a friendly face and say hi to them. Those little moments like really lift my day. So those are my thoughts on what it means to be a house staff officer and really embrace the house and house staff. All right, and the last thing I'm going to reflect on, number 5 here, is akin to what I talked about in my first reflection video, honestly close to a year from now, is that even though it's demanding, residency, it still is very rewarding. And I will stand by what I said before, that there's nothing else I think I would rather be doing, because to be able to care for these patients in these vulnerable moments, it's such an honor and privilege, and get to dig into the cognitive aspect, the diagnosing, all of that, and be having fun with your co-residents and all the other people in the hospital. It is such a joy, and I'm very grateful to be in internal medicine. So I'm glad and grateful that 1 year into residency, I still have this attitude. I'm not jaded, and that's my goal, to keep it that way. All right, everyone. Great chatting with you, giving you this reflection update. And like I said, I'm hoping to be a lot more consistent this year in these videos, both reflections and more educational type content. All right, take care, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.